There's a hidden inner chamber in your mind you've never opened. It's always there, ajar, whispering your name. But every time you get close, something pulls you away. Eckhart Tolle discovered this chamber at 29, on the brink of suicide. And what he found on the other side changed not only his life, but millions' understanding of why we procrastinate. Because procrastination isn't what you think it is. It's not simply laziness or a lack of willpower. It's something far deeper, a fundamental struggle with the present moment. Have you ever wondered why you can binge watch 5 hours of a streaming series but can't study for 20 minutes? Why your brain, capable of memorizing every line of a movie, simply forgets that important task? The answer will surprise you and perhaps set you free, once and for all. But first, you need to understand something about time, something Tolle spent years uncovering, and that will explain why you're trapped in this seemingly endless cycle. Close your eyes for a second. Feel the weight of your body in your chair. Notice how your mind immediately wants to escape this moment. It wants to plan dinner, replay that conversation from yesterday, or worry about tomorrow's work. This escape isn't accidental. It's the key to everything. When Tolle was at his lowest point, sitting in his small London apartment, he noticed something strange. There were two voices in his head. One was him, the other was someone observing him. I can't live with myself anymore. That's what he thought. But then came the question that changed everything. Who is this I that can't live with this myself? There's a part of you that's always observing, always present, always here. And there's another part that's always running, always planning, always anywhere but here. Procrastination happens when these two parts go to war. Imagine you're a prisoner, but not in an ordinary prison. You're a prisoner of time, constantly fleeing the present, seeking refuge in a future that never arrives, or hiding in a past that can't be changed. And every time a task appears, it forces you to confront this moment. Here, now, no escape possible. That's why you procrastinate. It's not laziness. It's resistance to the present. Think with me. When you're watching a streaming series, where is your mind? Totally absorbed, right? No past, no future. Just the now of the story unfolding. But when you need to do something important, your mind sets off alarms. What if I fail? What if it's not good enough? I remember the last time I tried this. Do you see? The task forces you to be present, but your mind doesn't want to be here. It wants to be anywhere. But in this moment where action needs to happen, Tolle calls this the pain body. It's as if you carry within you an entity that feeds on suffering, on drama, on unresolved problems. And this entity hates the simplicity of the present moment, because in the present there are no problems. There's only what is. But here's what nobody tells you. That ajar door in your mind, it doesn't lead to another place. It leads to here, to this exact moment, to this breath, to this word you're reading now. And that's precisely what terrifies you, because if you were truly here, you'd have to stop postponing your life. You'd have to stop waiting to be ready. You'd have to act even when you're afraid. Have you noticed that you can do anything when you're truly present? When you're in the flow, as psychologists call it. In that state, there's no procrastination, there's only doing. But how do we get there? How do we stop running from ourselves? Tolle discovered that the answer isn't in controlling the mind, it's in observing it, in becoming aware of your patterns, in noticing when it's taking you away from the moment. I'll tell you a story he often uses to explain this. Imagine you're walking through a dense forest. For years, you've followed the same path, always arriving at the same place, quicksand, where you sink and have to struggle to get out, day after day. You follow the same path, hoping that this time will be different, but it never is. Procrastination is this path. You know the way by heart. First comes the task, then the discomfort, then the escape, then the guilt, and finally, the desperate rush to do everything at the last minute. But what if I told you there's another path? One you've never noticed because you were always looking at the ground, worried about the next step. This path doesn't lead away from the quicksand. It goes straight through it, but in a completely different way. When you're present, when you're truly here, the resistance doesn't disappear. It simply loses its power over you. You feel the discomfort, but you don't run from it. You observe the fear, but you don't identify with it. And then something magical happens. Action arises naturally, not because you forced yourself, but because in the present, action is all there is. Tolle discovered this in the most painful way possible. That night in London, when he was about to give up everything, he surrendered completely to the moment. He stopped fighting against what he was feeling. He stopped trying to escape, and it was precisely in this total surrender that he found freedom. Surrender is the most natural phenomenon, he said years later. It is resisting what is that creates suffering. You are resisting your life. You are resisting the present moment where everything needs to happen, and it is this resistance that manifests as procrastination. But here's the secret that changed everything for him, and can change for you too. You don't have to like what you're doing. You don't have to feel motivated. You don't have to be sure it will work out. You just need to be present while you do it. Think of something you've been putting off. Feel that tightness in your chest? That urge to think about something else? That's the resistance to the present manifesting itself. But what if, instead of running away from that feeling, you simply observed it? What if you said to it, I see you, I know you're there, but I'm going to do it anyway? It's not about eliminating the discomfort, it's about making peace with it. Tolle says that after his transformation, he used to sit in London squares for hours, simply observing people. And he realized how everyone seemed to be running from something, always rushed, always searching for something in the future. But he had discovered that everything we seek is already here, in this moment, in this breath. Your ability to act, to create, to live fully. It's not hidden in some future where you'll finally be ready. It's here, now, in this exact instant. And procrastination? It's just your mind trying to convince you that this moment isn't good enough, that you need to wait for a better moment, a moment where you feel more prepared, more confident, more inspired. But that moment never arrives, because there's always another better moment in the future. The clock on the wall keeps ticking, but for you, a prisoner of time, those seconds don't exist. You live in an imaginary time, where the now is just a bridge between a past that's gone and a future that may never come. But what if I told you that clock is stopped, that there's only this moment, repeating infinitely, renewing itself with every breath? Tolle discovered that time, as we understand it, is an illusion. There's only the now, and in the now there's no procrastination. There's only what you choose to do or not do. But even not doing becomes a conscious choice, instead of an unconscious escape. Have you noticed that when you're truly present, the most difficult tasks become simple? Not necessarily easy, but simple. You know exactly what the next step is, and then the next, and then the next. It's as if a higher intelligence takes over, an intelligence that doesn't need external motivation, because it's directly connected to the source of action. But when you're trapped in psychological time, when you're always comparing this moment to other moments, everything becomes complex, laden with history, heavy with expectations, and it's that weight that paralyzes you. Tolle teaches something revolutionary about this. He says that every moment is an opportunity to be born again, to free yourself from the weight of the past and the anxiety of the future. Every moment is a door ajar to a new version of you. But you need the courage to walk through it, and walking through that door means making peace with discomfort. It means accepting that life isn't about feeling good all the time. It's about being present, regardless of what you're feeling. When you stop demanding that the moment be different from what it is, something extraordinary happens. The resistance dissolves, and with it, procrastination. Because procrastination is crystallized resistance. It's your vital energy being used against yourself. But in the present moment, all that energy becomes available for action, for creation, for life. You've experienced this in those rare moments where you were completely absorbed in something, where hours passed like minutes, where you were no longer a doer of things, but the action itself happening. Those moments are windows to your true potential, to who you really are when you're not fighting against reality. And reality is always now, always this moment, always this breath, always this opportunity to choose presence instead of escape. But there's something more that Tolle discovered, something that will completely change how you view procrastination, something he only understood years after his transformation, when he began teaching others. Procrastination isn't your enemy, it's your wisest teacher. Stop. Read that again, because this understanding will turn your life upside down. For years, you've fought procrastination as if it were a disease to be cured. But Tolle discovered something surprising. Procrastination is an unconscious form of wisdom. It's trying to protect you from something. But protect you from what? From the possibility of failing as yourself. Think with me. When you postpone something important, you never need to find out if you're really capable. You never need to face the possibility of giving your best and still not being enough. Procrastination is the perfect shield against vulnerability. But here's the paradox. By trying to protect yourself from failure, you guarantee that it happens. By avoiding the vulnerability of being fully yourself, you become a diminished version of yourself. Tolle realized this by observing his students. Those who procrastinated the most were also the most sensitive, the most creative, the most profound. They were people who felt everything more intensely, and precisely because they felt so much, they tried to feel less. Have you noticed that you don't procrastinate watching something that distracts you? You only procrastinate things that really matter to you. That's no coincidence. Your soul knows when something is important, and when something is important, there's always the risk of disappointment, the risk of discovering that you're not who you thought you were. So your mind, trying to protect you, creates obstacles, invents excuses, finds urgent distractions. But in the process, it keeps you away from exactly what could fulfill you. It's as if you're afraid of your own greatness. Tolle tells a story about one of his first students, a writer who dreamed of writing a book for more than 10 years, but never got past the first page. "Why don't you write?" Tolle asked. "Because I don't have time," was the answer. "And if you had infinite time, would you write?" Silence. "Maybe. It's not about time," the man whispered. And that was the first time he admitted the truth. He wasn't procrastinating for lack of time. He was procrastinating out of fear of discovering who he really was when he stopped hiding behind excuses. There's a difference between being busy and being present, between doing things and being who you are while doing them. Procrastination happens when you want to do something being someone else, someone more confident, more prepared, more inspired. But that person doesn't exist. There's only you, now, with all your imperfections and uncertainties, and it's precisely that imperfect person who needs to act. Tolle teaches something that sounds simple, but is revolutionary. Be where you are, not where you think you should be. When you completely accept where you are, with the fear, with the doubt, with the lack of motivation, something magical happens. The resistance dissolves because you stop fighting against reality. And the reality is that you can act even while feeling fear. You can create even if you feel inadequate. You can start even without knowing how to finish. In fact, that's the only way to do anything that really matters. Have you noticed that the people you most admire aren't those who never feel fear? They're the ones who act despite the fear. Courage isn't the absence of fear. It's the presence of action along with fear. And being present means being available to feel everything that needs to be felt without trying to escape. But here's the secret that changed everything for that writer, and can change for you too. You don't need to be inspired to begin. You need to begin to be inspired. Inspiration isn't some mysterious visitor that shows up when it feels like it. It's a state you cultivate through presence, through being available to the moment. Tolle discovered that when you're truly present, you become a channel. It's no longer you doing something. It's something being done through you. But to become a channel, you need to be empty. Empty of expectations about how you should feel. Empty of ideas about how things should be. And it's precisely this emptiness that terrifies you. Because in this emptiness, you have no control. You don't know what will happen. You can't guarantee the outcome. But it's also in this emptiness that magic happens. Think about a time you created something truly special, a time you were in the flow state. Were you trying to control the process, or were you simply following something bigger than yourself? You were probably following, and that's what Tolle calls higher intelligence. It's not your thinking mind controlling everything. It's a deeper wisdom operating through you. But you can only access this intelligence when you're present, when you're not trying to be someone you're not. Procrastination is your mind trying to maintain control, trying to guarantee you only act when you can predict the outcome. But life doesn't work that way. Life is a constant act of faith. Every breath is an act of faith. Every word you speak is an act of faith. And every action you take, especially the important ones, requires you to let go of control and trust the process. Tolle learned this in the most radical way possible. That night in London, when he surrendered completely, he had no idea what was going to happen. He didn't make plans. He didn't strategize. He simply allowed himself to be. And from that total surrender, a new life was born. A life where action arose naturally from presence. But you don't need to go through an existential crisis to access this. You can choose surrender at any moment, at any breath, right now. Close your eyes for a second. Feel your body, feel your breath, feel life pulsating through you in this exact moment. That force that's making your heart beat, that's renewing your cells, that's keeping you alive. That same force can move your hand, can flow through your actions, but you need to get out of the way. You need to stop trying to be the director of your life and allow yourself to be the protagonist. And the difference is simple. The director is outside, trying to control everything. The protagonist is inside, fully living each moment. When you procrastinate, you're trying to be the director. You want to plan the perfect scene, with the perfect lighting, at the perfect moment. But life is happening now, and it needs a protagonist, not a director. Tolle says that after his transformation, he never planned his life in the conventional way again. Not because he was irresponsible, but because he had learned to trust the intelligence of the present moment. And paradoxically, his life became more productive, more creative, more impactful than it ever had been when he was trying to control everything. Because when you're present, you don't waste energy resisting what is. All your energy becomes available for what needs to be done, and what needs to be done always becomes clear when you're present. Always. But there's one last thing I need to tell you, something Tolle only shares with those who are truly ready to hear. Procrastination isn't just about tasks, it's about your entire life. You're procrastinating your own existence. How many times have you caught yourself thinking, when I achieve this, then I'll be happy. When I finish that, then I'll relax. When I solve this problem, then I'll live. But the when never arrives, because there's always a new when waiting. You're postponing your own life, waiting for the perfect moment to finally live it. But what if this is the moment? What if there's no better moment than now to be who you truly are? What if life wasn't something that happens after you solve all your problems, but something that happens while you're solving them? Or even better, what if life is something that happens when you stop trying to solve everything and simply allow yourself to be? Tolle discovered that happiness isn't a destination, it's a state of presence. And you can access it now, regardless of your circumstances. But for that, you need to stop procrastinating the present moment. You need to stop postponing your own existence. You need to have the courage to be here, now, being exactly who you are, with all your fears, with all your doubts, with all your imperfect and beautiful humanity. And when you do that, something extraordinary happens. That slightly ajar door in your mind finally opens completely, and you discover that on the other side, there was nothing you didn't already know, nothing you weren't, nothing you hadn't always carried within you. There was only you, more present, more alive, more real. And in that total presence, procrastination simply makes no sense, because in the present, there's no later, there's no when I'm ready, there's no better moment. There's only this moment, this opportunity, this breath, this life that's waiting to be lived. Now, the clock on the wall may continue ticking, but you no longer need to be a prisoner of time. You can choose the freedom of the present. You can choose the courage to act, being who you are. You can choose to stop procrastinating your own existence. And when you make that choice, you'll discover you never needed to be ready. You just needed to be present. And you always have been. You just forgot for a while. But now you remember. And remembering is all you need to begin. Not tomorrow, not when you feel better, not when you have more time. Now. Because now is all there is. And in the now, you are all you need to be. Tolle was right, the door was always open. You just needed the courage to walk through it, and that courage has always been yours.